Just checking if the stream is live. Okay.
The biggest challenge is here. Participate in the great
Kill
Indian.
these ads. Oh, right. It seems to be working. Yeah, the sound works. Cool. Cool. Hello, everybody. My name is Rishi, and today we'll discuss about modeling complex access control with Hasura. If you haven't checked out Hasura, make sure you check it out. Hasura's GraphQL engine gives you instant GraphQL APIs on Postgres, which are blazing fast. So, GraphQL engine also comes with a role-based access control layer. By the way, the role-based access control layer has nothing to do with Postgres roles. You define these roles, so the roles are not really the Postgres roles as such. So we'll try to model access control for a news application, just like something like Hacker News, where the access is restricted based on several factors. So before we go into that, let me just quickly explain you how permissions work with Hasura. So the GraphQL schema generated by Hasura is inferred from the Postgres schema, which means, as you see, all these fields are inferred from the underlying Postgres schema, which means that all the fields of your GraphQL schema correspond to the tables, columns, and relationships of the underlying Postgres database. So setting access control rules for the tables and their columns is basically means setting access control rules for all the fields in your GraphQL schema. So we'll start doing that. Right. So I have already modeled. I have already created tables for our pseudo news app that we'll be looking at. So firstly, we have a users table. I have put out some sample data. It has columns ID, name, karma, and created at, and where ID is the primary key. Then we have articles table, which has title, which is the title of the article, type, which could be URL or it could just be a text, content, which is the body of the article, and author ID, which is the ID of the user that posted this article. And as you see, there is a foreign key set from author ID of this table to users.id. So, and there is also a relationship created based on that, which is called author. If you see here, if you query articles, you can also query for the underlying author, the ID and name that author. If I do this, it will give me the articles, article 1, article 2, and the author, whichever it is. Cool. So that is articles. After articles, it's comments. Just a second. So so we also have a comments table, which has ID, article ID, author ID, which are foreign keys to article table and author table respectively. Then we have content, which is the body of the comment, and then we have a parent ID, which is an optional column. As you see, it is nullable. This means that if there is a valid parent ID, then this is a child comment of some other comment. You can see parent ID is a foreign key to a self-referencing foreign key to comments.id, right? After that, we have article upvotes. Article upvotes is simply user ID and article ID, which are also the primary keys, because user ID and article ID should be, a user should be able to upvote an article just once. So this pair should be unique. And again, these are foreign keys from article ID is to articles.id and user ID is to user.id. Similar for comment upvotes, exactly the same thing. Instead of article, there's comment. We will also create a table called article downloads ID. No, this will be user ID, this integer, and article ID, which is integer again. Similarly, both will be the primary keys because both will be the primary keys because download should happen just once. So this pair should be a unique pair. And foreign keys will set up article ID, another foreign key, user ID, right? So let's create this table. Yeah, similarly we'll create a comments downloads ID, user ID integer, comment ID is again integer, same thing. Comments, save, then what is it, user ID, right? Users dot ID. I'll just create this table as well. Now, since our schema is ready, let's start putting some permissions, some rules. So how access control works with Hasura is we define granular rules based on something called as session variables. These session variables come from the information in the headers of every GraphQL request that is being made to the server. So these session variables could be something like x Hasura role, which means that if the value of x Hasura role in from the headers tells Hasura what is the role of the client that is making this GraphQL request. And then you can have a lot of other things like x Hasura user ID, which will tell the user ID, the unique identification of the user that is making the GraphQL query. And then you can have like custom things like x say employee number, things like that. So, and based on these session variables, we will define rules, the permissions, and the access will be restricted as per those rules. So let's start doing that. Firstly, let's define a role called user. For setting up insert permission, a user should be allowed to insert themselves only. For example, if I logged into my auth provider called like say auth0, and I have a unique identification there, some auth0 ID. Now whenever I am this user is being inserted in the Postgres database, only the user with that auth0 ID should be able to insert in the users table, and the ID should be that ID. So currently we don't have any auth provider integrated, so we will just assume that x Hasura user ID is received. So here we'll say that id equals x Hasura user id, right? And gets to insert everything. Yeah, that's about it. About select, every user should be able to view the information of all the users except the user id. So we will allow the user role to select all the users. I mean, they can view information of all the users, their karma, name, and when they have been created at, but not the id, because id is their unique identification. So I will save this as well. For updating, yeah, the user doesn't get to update any of their data. Username is permanent, this is permanent, this is permanent, this is permanent, so we won't set any update permission. For delete, they can delete their account, so we'll just set same check as insert, that a user can delete only themselves, they cannot delete anybody else. So let's set this up, right? So this permission has been set. So as you see, we have two users right now. Now if I do this, sorry, mutation, I'll try to insert a user. And I'll say id is 3, name is hero, created at is now, and karma is say 40, and I'll ask for affected rows. Also we will set x Hasura user id to 5 and x Hasura role to user, right? We'll try to make this GraphQL query now. Yeah, so we were not allowed to insert because there is a check constraint violation. I'll show you the permission again. Insert permission. Yeah, it says that a user can insert in the table only when the x Hasura id is equal to the id that is being inserted. Over here we see that x Hasura user id is 5 and the id being inserted is 3, so there is a violation, so the request failed. I'll just set 3 here and let's try now. Yeah, it's been inserted. Users, you see this hero 40 karma, and yeah, it was inserted. Similarly for select is not the best example because select, anybody can select the user information, but still we'll try. Ready users created at karma and name. See, if you see, I can't ask for the id because selecting id is not allowed. We in the permissions, as you see, we have not granted access to the id column, so that is not in the inferred GraphQL schema. So that's about it. Then let's try notation delete users. So in the delete permission, I have the same check as id equal to x Hasura user id. Okay, so I'll just say where name is equal to a hero. I'll try to delete Rishi. Okay, just check the users. Yeah, Rishi is the thing. Again, affected rows 0 because the delete permission did not let it delete this, because the delete permission allows deleting only when id is equal to x Hasura user id. Here in this case x Hasura user id is 3. So here if I say hero, it should work. Yeah, affected row is 1. It got deleted. Let me refresh this. Yeah, the hero was deleted. Right, so that is about the users table. Next we'll get to the articles table. In case of articles, again let's set insert permission. So the custom check is the the author id should be equal to x Hasura user id again, because whenever I am inserting an article, the article should have the author id as me, right? So this is done for insert. Toggle all presets, right? For select, we'd have again without any checks, because every user should be able to view every single article, right? And I'll just save this. For update, the same check as insert, because users should be allowed to update only their articles, right? And they should not be allowed updating author id. They should be allowed to update content. They cannot update this. They should be allowed to update text, and they should be allowed to update type, right? Oh, I forgot something. Yeah, so here we have said set the check as author id is equal to x Hasura user id. We need one more check, because as you see in the articles table, in the articles table we have this field called as type, which we want it to be only one of users, one of text or URL. The type, I mean, it is the type of the news. It could be a textual news, or it could be a URL linking to the news somewhere else. So we can set that as well in the permission. So what we do here is we set an AND operator, and with set type, yeah, inside this OR, inside this AND we'll again put an OR, and over here we'll say type is either equal to text or type is equal to URL, and the other condition stays the same, which is author id equals x Hasura user id. Right. In case of update, same thing. Author id will set an AND, author id equals x Hasura user id, and the nested OR, which means the type is either equal to text or the type is equal to URL. And column update is content, title, type, right? Let's save this. In case of delete, yeah, it should be same. It should be just this author id equals accessor user ID, which basically means that a user gets to delete their own articles, right? So now let's go and try this out in action. So firstly we'll try to insert an article. uh, Insert articles. uh, Title is say article 2, article 3, because we already have two articles. Then type is text. What is content is article 3 content. Then created at is now. Am I missing anything? Yeah, that's it, I guess. And return affected rows, returning the generated ID. Cool, let's try if this works. Oh, author ID, we missed out on the author ID. Author ID equals say 232. This should ideally not be allowed because 232 is not equal to the accessor user ID. Yeah, same. I'll just set this to 3 and let's see if this works. Articles. Oh, there's a foreign key violation. So Hasura user ID, let's set it to 2. Let's set this to 2, author ID to 2. This should work, right? Let's try inserting another article, but let's make this something else. The type in the permissions we defined that type could be either text or URL, but let's try putting something. This should ideally fail as well. Yeah. Now say if I make this URL, it should work. Right, works. That is about articles. Next is let's do it for comments. So for comments, the permission will be author ID equals Hasura user ID. Now I'll show you a nifty feature of the GraphQL engine which we skipped in case of articles and users, just so that things seem a bit simple. But what you can do is that let us not allow users inserting the ID at all. We allow users inserting, let's not allow users inserting the author ID at all. So we set this permission and we set something called as column presets, which means that if this field is not, let's set the column preset to author ID, and this field is automatically inserted from the session variable. In this case, let's set it Hasura user ID. So what will happen is, even though the user is not not specifying the author ID in the GraphQL request, in the GraphQL mutation, it will automatically be inserted from the session variable. So now let's save this. Author ID equals Hasura user ID and everything. Cool. Save. Let me show this to you before we go into select and update. So we'll try to run a mutation called insert comments, affected rows, objects, content is say comment 4, and can't insert author ID. Yeah, that's it, I guess. I just have to insert the comment 4. Now if you see the X Hasura, I'm making this mutation with X Hasura user ID as 2, right? So as per our permissions, when this comment is inserted in the comments table, the author ID of this comments table will be set to 2. Let's see, not null. Oh, article ID, right? Article ID is, say, 2. Foreign key violation, comments article ID F key. Let's just get a legit article ID. Okay, let's take 5. Is 5. Yeah. If I go and check in the comments table, comment 3, the author ID, yeah, this was the comment that we inserted, comment 4, and the article ID we had set to 5, and if you see, the author ID has automatically been set to 2. So that came from our permissions. So that was insert permission. Let's set select permissions. Select should be without any checks. Everybody should be able to see all comments and should be allowed all columns, right? For update users, the check will be same as the insert permission. Author ID is X Hasura user ID, and the column update permissions, we don't want them to edit the article ID or the author ID. We just want to allow them to edit the content, right? And that's it. Same for delete. Yeah. So if I go and try to delete where ID equals, what was it, comments ID equals 8, say ID equals 8. So the ID 8, the comment with ID 8 has author ID 2, right? So only if the X Hasura user ID is 2, the delete mutation should succeed, otherwise it should fail. So I'll try making this 1, and I'll try to delete it. Yeah, affected row 0 because the permission did not delete it. I set it just to 2. Yeah, works. So that is this. Now let's do something a bit more complicated. Article downloads. Okay, in article downloads, whenever you are inserting, we want users to be able to download only if they have karma more than 200, because we wouldn't ideally want noobs to be downloading posts and comments. So only experienced users get to download articles and comments. So let's add that also as a check. So in that case, what we would do is custom check. I can set an AND operator here. Before this, we'll have to create a relationship to article, save, user. To check out relationships, it is beyond the scope of this stream, but just go here and it is super descriptive. Everything will be very clear. This is basically, we have created a relationship based on the foreign key foreign key between the article downloads and the articles table. That's the relationship that we had created. Is it? Yeah. So article downloads the article, and here we'll just set this relationship called as downloader. So now we go back to the permissions, and we select and we set an insert permission with a custom check as and downloader karma is greater than, say, 200. I'd say greater than equal to 200. And another thing is that user ID equals x Hasura user ID, right? And the column insert permissions, yeah, toggle all, and the column presets. Okay, let's not allow user ID. Let's take it from the column presets. Hasura user ID. So that is about it. Now let's go and try this out. Notation insert article downloads, right? Objects. Let's set article ID as 5. Again, forgot the article ID. Let's set it as 11. Article ID 11, and the user ID will be inserted from the session variable, that is 2. And let's see how much karma does the user 2 have. User 2 has 210 karma. So firstly we'll try with user 1, which has 10 karma. So article ID is 11, right? We'll also ask for affected rows. Yeah, let's try to make this. It says check constraint violation because we had said that firstly insert the user ID from x Hasura user ID. So the user ID that was tried to be inserted in the article downloads table was 1, and the karma of user 1 is 10. And in our permission we have said that only the users with karma greater than 200 can download. So now let's try it with this. Works. So you can set these kind of complicated access control rules based on the data in the database, and you can have a lot of, since there is and or and all the comparison operators are present, you can have all kinds of access control rules based on that. So that's about modeling access control with Hasura. Let me check if there is any. Right. Cool. So if you have any questions about this, do let us know on our Discord channel. Go to hasura.io, and there is a Discord link here. Yeah, ask on Discord, and we are super active on Discord, so we'll immediately get back to you and help you with whatever doubt you have. It, like, you could just ask anything about access control, about GraphQL, anything in general, and we are super helpful. We'll try to help you out. That's about it with the Hasura streams. My name is Rishi, and the next stream will happen next Thursday, I'm hoping, and Vladimir will be hosting the next stream. that's about it. See you people